everyone, this is Pavlina from Pavlina's Kids Place, and I'm on the line with awesome rocker Alice Cooper. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm in Arizona right now where it's probably just as hot as you are.
Yeah. Florida is dying. It's so hot over here. Yeah, so thank you for being with me today. But you're on your Raise the Dead tour, and that's coming to Florida, actually, October 25th to 29th. What can everyone expect for your show?
Well, this show is always, the Alice Cooper show is always a hard rock show, but it's always sort of like a Halloween party. I kind of expect the audience to dress in Halloween costume, because that's the time of year it is, and Alice Cooper is sort of equated with Halloween. So, our stage show is very theatrical. It's not like any other show. So when you come to see us, it's sort of like you're coming to see a little bit of theater along with the rock and roll.
I watched some YouTube videos of your show, and it actually looks really cool. But I also noticed...
It is a lot of fun to do. It's, I just kind of try to make the lyrics come to life.
Yeah.
If you're doing a song called Welcome to My Nightmare, I believe that you should give the audience the nightmare or show them the nightmare. And we do that, through theatrics, through just producing a show that looks like a nightmare.
I also noticed on your website that, the Raise the Dead show, it's for all ages, so that's really cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely that. We don't have any bad language in the show, no nudity or anything like that. But it's a real high energy hard rock show. In other words, we try to exhaust the audience.
Yeah.
We want the audience to be tired at the end of the show.
That is really cool. That's so original. I like it. What is the biggest misconception about, that you would say, wow, that is definitely not me?
Well, I think that people think that I am Alice Cooper, whereas the character Alice Cooper, I play that character on stage. I created Alice to be sort of my favorite rock star. Mm-hmm. The same way that Johnny Depp plays, Jack Sparrow. When you meet Johnny Depp, he's nothing like Jack Sparrow. But when he plays that character, then he's totally into that character. It's the same way where I play Alice Cooper. So I'm nothing like the character. But that's what kind of makes it fun. Because, how fun is it to play somebody that you're not?
Exactly.
If you got to go on stage every night and you got to play, like a math teacher, or you got to play some crazy witch or something. And then you realize that I'm nothing like that character, but when I'm playing that character, I have to become that character for at least 2 hours a night. So it's fun. It's like acting.
Yeah, exactly. People say that you're a really sweet person, and Rolling Stone calls you the most lovable heavy metal entertainer. So how do you see yourself?
Well, I am probably... I'm like that. I like people. So if I'm out on the street or if I'm at the store or at the movies or something and somebody wants an autograph or somebody wants to take a picture, I always say yes. I never say no.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, that's just me. I don't have a problem with that. The character Alice Cooper, I think you'd be afraid to ask him for an autograph.
Yeah.
Because he would be too, you would just kind of look at him and not even want to get near him because he seems dangerous to you.
That's cool, though, that you can separate them, because I know a lot of people probably would have a hard time turning it on and off.
Well, and I think that's what killed a lot of our early rock stars. I used to know Jim Morrison from The Doors.
Oh, really?
And I used to know Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Keith Moon and all these great personalities that were just amazing personalities. But they were always that personality. Jim Morrison was always Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
And in order for him to maintain that character, that intense character, he was drinking all day. He was drinking whiskey all day.
Wow.
And he was taking pills all day. And he was smoking all day. And in order to maintain that character. Whereas when I became sober 30 years ago, I decided I'm going to have to be two people. I'm going to have to be myself and do what I want to do during the day, and then at night I'll be this character. So I don't have to do all the drinking and the drugs and all that in order to become the character. But those guys died very early because I think they tried to sort of be a 24-hour party.
What are your fans like? I mean, you've had fans for 50 years, since you've been performing. So it's like 3 generations. What is that like?
Well, the thing about it is I play the kind of music that I think our first 20, 30 rows at a concert are always 16 years old to 60.
Wow.
Our first rows are like 16 to 25. So all the very young kids are up front. And they want to be part of the show. They want to kind of be enveloped in the energy of that show. And they become part of the show. And the funny thing is here's 16-year-old kids that know all the songs. Some of these songs, School's Out was 1972. I'm 18 was 1971. Poison was 1989,
Mm-hmm.
And yet these kids know every single song.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting that young kids know, the Doors, and they know Pink Floyd, and they know all the classic rock bands, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. And I think it's just because those songs were so good that the kids they listen to them now and they still get it.
Mm-hmm.
They still think those songs sound cool.
Exactly. A lot of my friends listen to, older music, which I think is really cool. And even when I told them I was going to interview you, they were like, oh my gosh, I know who that is. So it's really cool.
Yeah, myself and Ozzy Osbourne and Steven Tyler, we all started about the same time, or late 60s when we were teenagers. And we're still all around. We're Iggy Pop, all of us are still like, we all grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
And the amazing thing is we went through our problems early, and instead of dying, we all quit, and made another, stayed around for another 30 years to keep making records and performing. So it just shows you that you don't need alcohol and you don't need drugs in order to rock and roll.
Exactly. And when I talked to Kiss, when they were here in Orlando promoting the AFL, rockers are doing a lot more than just music. And, you've got a lot of cool stuff, like with your restaurant, Coopersville, and your foundation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and your foundation for teens called the Solid Rock.
That's very important to me because, I see a lot of kids on the street, and, I know they're selling drugs, and I know they're taking drugs. It's nothing new. But I always look at this kid on the street that's selling drugs, and he's 16, 17, and I go, how does he know that he's not the best guitar player?
Mm-hmm.
If he's never picked up a guitar?
Exactly, yeah.
How does he know that he's not a great drummer? How does that girl know that she's not a great ballet dancer or a jazz dancer if she's never been exposed to it? So we opened a place where we say everything is free.
Mm-hmm.
You can come in and take guitar lessons, drum lessons, dance, singing, everything. And it's all free. The only thing, what we're trying to do is pull kids away from gangs and away from guns and drugs and saying, look, we're providing this. It's just as easy to get addicted to music as it is to get addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
And so, if you wanted to come in and learn ballet,
mm-hmm.
my wife is like a master ballet teacher. And so she would teach you ballet from the ground up, and then she'd teach you jazz, and then she'd teach you hip-hop. So, she can do all of it.
Mm-hmm. That is so cool, because I do dance, so that's really cool.
Yeah, and it all is based in, but the thing is that if you do dance, then you realize you take time to practice it, and you take time to get better at it. A lot of these kids on the street, they don't have that. What they have is trying to survive. They're trying to get from A to B without getting shot. So we're trying to get to those kids and say, look, there's a better way. Yeah. Rock and roll is fine. You don't have to die to be rock and roller.
Yeah, well, I love your foundation. I think that sounds awesome. Well,
thank you.
Yeah. So, and one of my Facebook friends, his name is Jim Bacon. So, little shout out to Jim. But he wants to know about The Last Temptation. The last 20 years. It's a 20-year anniversary edition that recently came out.
Yeah, the album was written, and it was about a little kid, and this circus comes into town. And this circus isn't just a circus. It's sort of a circus of evil.
Oh, God.
It's sort of demons. It's demonic and all this. And it looks, from the outside, it looks like a lot of fun. Everything is pretty and everything is exciting. But when you see behind it, it's all rotting away. And it's all death. And it's all about that. And this kid is tempted, of course, to join the circus.
Yeah.
And in the end, he decides not to, because he's smart enough to realize that this circus is all about death. It looks like it's about life, but it's actually about death. And once you're in the circus, you can't get out. So it's really kind of like a sci-fi thriller. And then there was two comic books involved with it. Neil Gaiman, who wrote The Sandman, did all the comic books. And so it was really pretty cool. I mean, it was like, it was 2 or 3 different things. You'd get the album and the comic books and the whole story and then the show.
Wow, that sounds really cool, though. And it's kind of like symbolic or like meaningful. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it really is. It's sort of a metaphor for the fact that life will come out at you and it'll say, it'll tell you, hey, you know what? This is really cool.
Yeah.
And if you don't do this, you're not going to be cool. And all this. And in the end, it's designed to kill you.
Exactly.
And this kid's smart enough to see through that. And in the end, he goes, no. I said, I'm not going to join the circus. And, of course, the circus just disappears then. Because it's really just, it's really like a metaphor for what the world has to offer you. And take the good things, but leave the bad things behind.
Well, thank you so much for being on Pavlina's Kids Place.
Well, thank you, and I'll see you at the show.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. I'll look for the prettiest girl, right?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.